Cinder squeezed the suitcase shut with a sigh of finality. Aiko had been pestering her all week about what she was and wasn't going to pick, insisting on a variety of gowns and uncomfortable shoes and rolling her eyes at Cinder's constant reminders that they would be spending most of this trip on a farm with cows and chickens and mud.
Just because you're not a queen anymore doesn't mean you get to go back to looking like you just rolled out of an engine compartment. We're taking the cocktail dress, just in case.
Cinder stepped back and looked at the suitcase with some trepidation, trying to determine what she'd forgotten. But she knew the nerves withering in her stomach had nothing to do with what she'd wear. No, she was nervous to be leaving. For the first time since her official abdication, she was leaving Luna. She had been back to Earth only once since she'd reclaimed her place upon the lunar throne, to be Kai's date to the Commonwealth Ball last year. It had been terrifying, but also extraordinary. The people of Earth weren't still sure what to do with the fact that one of their beloved leaders was not so secretly dating a lunar, and a cyborg lunar at that. There had been protests, but her critics were in the minority. There were plenty of people who defended her against the outcry, reminding the world that she was the girl who had saved them from Lavana. The way Kai had looked at her when she first stepped off the spaceship at New Beijing Palace had been encapsulated in her memory. She had thought she had been homesick for New Beijing, but it wasn't until that moment, seeing Kai smile and being wrapped up in his arms, that she realized he was the home she'd been missing.
They're here! The Rampion has arrived!
Good. I'm ready to go.
You're only bringing one suitcase?
That's it. Why? How many suitcases are you bringing?
3. And that was after I pared it down. Don't worry, if you run out of clothes, I'll lend you some of mine. Are you ready? Can we go?
Yes, I think so. You don't think it's a mistake to leave, do you?
Mistake?
It's just... the new parliament only took office 6 weeks ago.
The people had not initially liked Cinder's choice to abdicate and transform Luna into a democracy, but once nominations ensued and election campaigns were underway, the mindset of the country shifted. Everyone would be represented, and any of their children could grow up to be a leader.
What if something goes wrong? What if they need me?
Then they can send you a comm. You're an ambassador to Earth now, Cinder. So it's time you got yourself to Earth and started doing some... ambassadorizing.
That's not a word.
It should be. Besides, the Grand Minister has had more assistance in transitioning to his gig than you had. He'll be fine. Now come on! Paris awaits!
We're not going to Paris.
That's close enough for me.
When she and Aiko entered the spaceship docks, the Rampion was the first thing she saw. Thorne and Cress were waiting for them at the bottom of the ramp.
How does it feel to be a layperson again, Miss Ling?
Wonderful. I never want to hear the words, Your Majesty, ever again.
Never? Never ever? What if there was an imperial throne in between them? Would that change your mind?
Ha ha. How's the ship been holding up?
Nice dodge. But as your question is pertinent, I'll allow it. There's actually been a rattle in the compression system for the past month or so.
I told him to take it to the mechanic when we were in Dublin last week.
And I told her that I already have a mechanic.
It's fine. I kind of missed the work, actually. I'll check it out when we're in the air.
Great. Then let's get this diplomatic envoy started. Ship, raise the ramp. You all just sit back and relax, and we'll be on Earth in no time. I've been practicing takeoffs, by the way. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
He hasn't really gotten any better.
Cress was right. Thorne's takeoffs were still horrendous, but Cinder didn't move away from the window until Artemisia was nothing more than a glint on the moon's cratered surface. The landing was better as the girls conversed.
How often have you been to visit Wolf and Scarlet?
A few times a year. Scarlet finally built us a landing pad beside the hangar so Thorne would stop flattening her crops. I hope he didn't miss it.
I didn't miss it.
The ramp roared and creaked as it began to lower, and Cinder stood, surprised at how her heart began to thunder. First there was the sky, a strip of impossible blue along the ramp's edge, then her first full breath of air of trees and plants, not a recycling tank. But there were so many noises, birds chirping, chickens clucking, a breeze, and also voices. Too many voices. Journalists.
Your Majesty, will you be attending the Commonwealth?
I'll give you a statement. Leave my guests alone, you pitiful New Star buzzards. Welcome to France. Let's get you inside before they send out the android journalists. They're not as easy to scare off. They started showing up 2 weeks ago. They tried camping in the sugar beet field like they owned the place. I had to call the police 4 times for trespassing, but they're as dumbfounded by all this media attention as I am. wanted a quiet, intimate wedding. Not a circus.
It's the first known lunar earthen wedding in generations. The groom is a bioengineered wolf-human hybrid, and you invited the Emperor of the Eastern Commonwealth and an ex-lunar queen. What did you expect?
I'm marrying the man I love, and I invited my friends to celebrate with us. I expected a little bit of privacy.
I'm sorry. We should have tried to be more discreet with our plans.
It's not your fault. Kai's travel schedule is pretty much public knowledge, so there's no stopping this, I'm afraid. Just be glad you weren't here to see the horde of screaming girls when he arrived.
He's here already.
He arrived last night, and Winter and Jacin flew over from Canada this morning. Everyone's here, so now I just need to survive the next 3 days of chaos until the wedding. And then it'll all be over. At least, that's assuming the blood-sucking heathens out there don't try to crash the ceremony. You know, the worst part of it is they keep trying to make this out to be some big political statement. Earth and Luna united at last. Earth and girl tortured by Lavana agrees to marry Lunar soldier. It's revolting. He's not here, Cinder.
What?
Wolf took them for a tour of the farm. They'll be back soon.
Right, sorry. I wasn't...
It's fine. Besides, if anyone understands what it's like for their relationship to be treated like a political stunt, it's you.
Hey, Cinder. Remember when we were here before? When we were just two crazy fugitives on the run from the law?
You mean when we discovered the secret lair under the hangar where I'd been kept comatose for 8 years of my life, then turned into a cyborg by some mystery surgeon before being given away to a family who didn't really want me? Yeah, Thorne, those were the good old days.
I was actually referring to that cute blonde who found us and nearly had a heart attack. Hey, is she going to be at the wedding?
Her name is Emilie, and yes, she is. Please try not to flirt with her in front of your girlfriend. I have enough drama to deal with this week as is.
It doesn't really faze me much anymore. Besides, he probably already told her he loved her, so what else can he say?
It's true. I might have. I honestly don't remember.
Will I have a chance to milk her before we go? I've never milked a cow before. I think I'd be good at it.
Of course you would. She'll just stare at you dumbfounded the whole time, like all the other animals that fall under your spell.
What spell? I'm not a hypnotist.
Are you sure?
You made it!
She flung herself at Cinder, giving her a brief squeeze before embracing Thorne, Cress, and Aiko in turn. Wolf had come in with them too, grinning, and beside him, Kai.
I told them that was the Rampion engine sound, but they all insisted it was just another media hover flying over.
You're an expert on the sounds of spaceships now?
Nah, I've just been waiting to hear that sound all day.
Aces, they haven't even kissed yet and already they're making me nauseous.
Kai rolled his eyes, then grabbed Cinder's hand and yanked her toward the back hallway.
How was the flight?
Oh, you know. Thorne was flying, so it was a constant stream of near-death experiences. How's Emperor life?
Oh, you know, press conferences, cabinet meetings, adoring fans everywhere I go.
So, also a constant stream of near-death experiences?
Yeah, pretty much. Is that an acceptable amount of small talk?
Acceptable to me.
She dug her hands in his hair and kissed him. Breakfast served in 20 minutes. The reminder message scrolled across the darkness of her eyelids. She squeaked her eyes open to the familiarity of the rampion surrounding her. The sensation of an arm around her waist was new, however. She and Kai had stayed up far too late. They'd wandered the endless crops, their hands interlaced, content that all the journalists had finally gone to bed. They'd sat on the stoop of the farmhouse, staring up at the moon. They'd ended up in the crew quarters of the ship, talking, and talking, until their eyelids had been too heavy to keep open. It was almost like they'd never been separated at all.
Scarlet's making breakfast.
What time is it?
Almost 9. Come on. It's a big day.
Stars. That hand gets cold.
Kai?
Hmm?
I love you.
I love you too.
Good. Because I'm taking the shower first.
The house smelled of bacon and coffee when they entered. Jacin was sitting at the round table in the kitchen peeling apart a croissant, while Scarlet, Wolf, and Winter bustled around an assortment of pattered cookie aprons. Cress and Thorne had stayed on the rampion too and entered with Cinder and Kai.
Grab a plate?
I don't want to hear one word about how delicious that is.
Oh, it's terrible. Especially the bacon. You would hate bacon.
One of you had better plan on making lunch.
I'll run for takeout.
Deal.
So, tell us what's in store for your big day. Have you had fun planning it? What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited for it to be over and for all those stupid media people to leave so we can have our lives back.
Aren't you excited to be married?
Oh, sure, that part will be nice. But I never wanted to have a big wedding, and I certainly didn't expect it to turn into this jamboree. Not that I'm regretting inviting you guys. Obviously, I want you here. It's just...
We understand. I wouldn't wish paparazzi on anyone.
You don't really think they'll interrupt the ceremony, do you?
I hope they have more integrity than that. Although it is tradition for the bride and groom to walk to the ceremony through the streets of town and cut through the ribbons that the children are supposed to have prepared for us. But I can't even fathom walking down my own driveway with those goons out there. So I don't know if that's going to happen.
Is that tradition important to you?
The only tradition I care about is saying I do.
Tell us more. I know very little about your earthen customs, and I want to know what traditions Scarlet Benoit Kesley deems important.
Oh, I don't know. We'll exchange rings and say some vows, but you do that on Luna too, don't you?
Will you carry a bouquet?
Probably. I thought I'd pick whatever looked good in the garden that day.
Do you have a color scheme?
White?
Will there be cake?
Of a sort. Emilie is bringing croquembouche, which is a big stack of pastry balls drizzled with caramel. It'll be delicious.
I heard of a tradition where guests are supposed to make a bunch of noise outside of the bridal chambers on the wedding night until you give us candy and send us away.
Yeah, please don't do that.
How many people will be there?
The whole blasted town, from what I can tell. I'm not sure how that happened. It certainly didn't invite everybody. If it was up to me, it would just be the people in this room. And Emilie.
Oh, why don't you show us your dress? I'm dying to see it.
You can't wait 2 more days?
Nope. Please.
Come on, it's upstairs.
The girls followed her up, but Cinder hesitated, glancing at the guys.
You can handle this?
No problem. Just distract her for as long as you can.
Don't let her come down here without the something old.
Something old?
She'll explain. I know it's one of the traditions that is important to her.
Better hurry up. You're in our way, and evidently we have decorating to do.
Voila! Here it is.
The dress was beautiful and uniquely Scarlet. A simple white cotton dress with a sweetheart neckline accented with sheer fabric that continued to her neck and was finished with white piping. A full skirt that would hang just below Scarlet's knees. A bright red sash around the waist was tied in a simple bow, matching the red vest and bow tie of the tuxedo.
It's perfect. Simple and lovely. Just like you, Scarlet. You have to try it on for us.
Oh, please.
I don't want to risk spilling something on it.
But it's good luck.
What's good luck?
On Luna, it's considered good luck for the bride to don her dress for at least an hour for each of the 3 days leading up to the wedding. It symbolizes her commitment to the marriage. And as your groom is Lunar, I think we should follow some of his traditions, don't you?
An hour? That's really pushing it, don't you think? Fine. I'll go put it on. I'm not going to stay in it for an hour. I still have chores to do.
I've never heard of that tradition before.
That's because I made it up.
Well done. Now quick, get that tux down to Wolf before she comes back.
Cinder rushed down the staircase.
Guys!
Kai appeared in the foyer with a garland of ribbons and roses draped across his shoulders.
Having fun down there?
Surprisingly, I sort of am. Turns out Thorne has a weird knack for this wedding thing. He says it's because Cress has been poring over wedding feeds for the past few months, but I think he's secretly enjoying it.
Don't mock a guy for having good taste.
Here, give this to Wolf.
No sooner had she returned to the room with Scarlet emerging from the bathroom in her wedding dress.
I need someone to zip it up.
We should let Winter do it. You know my tendency to leave grease stains on every pretty thing I touch.
Oh, Scarlet! You're getting married! It's all like a dream.
I guess it sort of is.
Sit down and let me do your hair.
My hair? What are you going to do to my hair?
I'm not sure yet, which is why I need to practice for the big day.
With Scarlet's back turned, Aiko winked at Cinder, who knew that Aiko had been researching popular wedding styles and practicing on palace maids for weeks.
How long will this take?
Why? Do you have somewhere else to be? Stop whining and sit down.
What if I told you I just want to wear my hair down? Like, normal.
Then I would use my powers of persuasion to change your mind. Now hold still.
Why is Wolf's tuxedo missing?
It We were...
Thorne came up and took it when you were changing.
What for?
Because he wanted to, compare it to his own tuxedo to make sure they were, matching?
She means that Thorne was concerned that he and Wolf might have purchased the same tuxedo, which I guess is considered a big faux pas. You know how Thorne is about that sort of thing. Can't be seen in the same tux as the groom. How embarrassing, right?
What?
What shoes are you going to wear?
I don't know. Winter said she had a pair I could borrow.
Yes! Here. How do they feel?
Not bad. If I can keep from tripping and breaking an ankle on them, this wedding will be a smashing success.
They're barely a 2-inch heel.
Which is 2 inches taller than I'm used to. What the hell? What?
What part of hold still don't you understand?
I'll go see what it was.
That was Thorne.
What did he do? Knock down a wall? Are you making a bouquet?
Shut up.
The sitting room was already transformed. Flowers and garlands and tool bows draped over every surface. Thorne and Kai were each standing on chairs, hanging a swath on the wall above the fireplace mantel as part of their makeshift altar.
What's going on? What was that noise?
It's all under control.
We had a disagreement with the bookshelf, but we've got this. How much more time do you think we have?
Aiko's doing her hair right now, so maybe half an hour?
Got it.
Cinder turned and rushed back up to the bedroom.
They knocked over a chair. When they were wrestling.
You're all acting weird. Is there something going on that I should know about?
Not
Of course
at all.
not.
Why don't you tell us about something old?
Something old?
Yes. Wolf had said something about a tradition?
Oh. There's an old wedding tradition in which the bride should wear something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. So for me, my dress is new. The shoes are borrowed, and my something old is this.
She held up a brooch. A yellow gemstone was at its center, set into a 5-pointed star, with 2 golden wings stretched out to either side. Cinder's retina display recognized it almost immediately as a pilot pin from the European Federation military.
It was my grandmother's. It was given to her when she became a pilot. She gave it to me years ago, and I thought it would be like having part of her with me. I thought it pinned it to the bouquet or something.
Don't be silly.
Winter took the brooch from her hands and pinned it through the fabric of the white bodice, right over Scarlet's heart.
This is clearly where it belongs.
You don't think it clashes with the outfit?
Oh, it definitely clashes.
But do you care?
Not really.
I figured as much.
Done! Get up and show everyone.
When did you get so bossy?
Her hair fell in large spiraling ringlets, still curly and wild, but neater than she usually wore it, and stopped off with an elegant pearl-studded braid. She swallowed and placed a finger against her grandmother's brooch.
I wish she were here. She would love him so much. She would love all of you too. I think she was a little concerned that I had never made very many friends. And now look. I have so many friends I need a cargo ship to keep you all in.
She's in the stars. Jacin and I saw her when we were in the sky, and she was smiling down at you. So very, very proud.
I thought you weren't crazy anymore.
I never made any promises. And I believe it, besides. She's watching you, Scar, and she is proud.
This is good. It's better to get all this out of the way so I'm not a mess during the actual wedding, right?
What about something blue? You didn't tell us what that was going to be.
Oh, that. I couldn't really think of anything, so I thought I'd skip that part. It's just a silly tradition anyway.
It's not silly at all. And I know just the thing. Do you have any blue thread?
Scarlet directed her to a sewing kit, and Winter began to embroider something into the lining of her dress.
Are you nervous?
No. At least, not about getting married. I'm a little nervous at the idea this has become an international spectacle, and there are people who don't know me or Wolf who are going to take it on themselves to judge our wedding. But no, I'm not nervous about getting married. Or being married. It's Wolf. It feels right. There never was a time it didn't feel right.
Cinder swallowed and couldn't help thinking of Kai. There had been difficult times, certainly, but even way back when everything was so wrong, it had been right. She couldn't have fought so hard for him otherwise.
I'm almost finished.
I can't wait to see what you've done in my beautiful dress.
You will love it. There.
In the beautiful blue thread, into the silk lining of Scarlet's wedding dress, Winter had embroidered a single word in simple, elegant script. Alpha.
You're right. It's perfect.
It's something blue, at least.
It's time.
What now? What's going on? What have you done?
They all shared closed-lipped, secretive smiles. Shaking her head, Scarlet made her way down the stairs. When she turned into the sitting room, she was greeted by Jacin, holding out an expertly crafted bouquet. She took it from him, her mouth hanging open, and stepped through the fluttering streamers. Wolf stood in front of the fireplace altar. The look he was giving Scarlet would have taken the breath of any girl. Kai, Thorne, and Emilie were there too.
What is this?
Scarlet, I know how frustrated you've been with the attention our wedding has brought. I want you to be happy and content. I don't want you thinking about journalists or cameras or news feeds. You didn't sign up for any of this. It isn't fair to you. So, I wondered if you might marry me now. Here instead.
You were all in on this.
Wolf had the idea a few weeks ago when he noticed you were getting upset about the media. That's why he wanted us all to come early.
This is perfect. There's no officiant here. Who's gonna marry us?
I am.
Seriously?
I've never done it before, but it is within my powers as Emperor. It will be perfectly legitimate and binding.
So, will you marry me?
Before you answer that, you should know that the store where we got all this stuff doesn't take returns.
Well, in that case... Yes. Of course I will.
Wolf bent toward her to kiss her.
Whoa. Slow those rockets. I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure we're not to the kissing part yet. Places, everyone.
Aren't they the most beautiful couple? I introduced them, you know.
You did?
Sort of.
Kai and Wolf stood at the makeshift altar, while their friends took dining chairs. Cress punched a command into her port screen, and the music changed. Scarlet glided through the aisle, her eyes locked onto Wolf's.
I love weddings.
Dear friends, we are gathered here today to witness and to celebrate the union between Zeev Kesley and Scarlet Benoit. Though we are a small gathering, it's clear that the love we feel for this bride and groom would span to Luna and back. Of course, we know that this world sees this wedding as a historical event. The first recorded marriage union between a lunar and an earthen since the Second Era. And maybe that is important. Maybe the love and compassion these two people have for each other is symbolic of hope for the future. Maybe this wedding signifies the possibility that someday our two races will not only learn to tolerate each other, but to love and appreciate each other as well. Or maybe this relationship has absolutely nothing to do with politics and everything to do with our shared human need to find someone who will care for us as much as we care for them. To find a partner who complements us and teaches us, who makes us stronger, who makes us want to become our best self. I think when every person in this room looks at Zeev and Scarlet, they don't see a lunar and an earthen. We see two people who were lucky enough to find each other in this vast universe. And they weren't going to let any boundaries of distance or race or even psychological tempering get in the way of a happy life together.
Kai reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 golden rings. He handed one to each of them.
In preparing for this ceremony, I did some research and learned that the word alpha has many meanings across history. It can refer to the first of something, or the beginning of everything. It has meanings in chemistry, physics, and even astronomy when it describes the brightest star in a constellation. But it seems clear that Zeev and Scarlet have created their own definition for the word, and their relationship has given this word a new meaning for all of us. Being an alpha means that you'll stand against all adversary to be with your mate. It means accepting each other, both for your strengths and your flaws. It means forging your own path to happiness and to love. Now, Zeev, place the ring on your bride's finger and make your vows.
I, Zeev Kesley, do hereby take you, Scarlet Benoit, as my wife and my alpha. Forevermore you will be my mate, my star, my beginning of everything. You are the one. You have always been, and you always will be, the only one.
I, Scarlet Benoit, do hereby take you, C.F. Kesley, as my husband and my alpha. Forevermore you will be my mate, my star, my beginning of everything. You are the one. You've always been. And you always will be the only one.
By the power given to me by the people of Earth under the laws of the Earthen Union and as witnessed by those gathered here today, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your...
Wolf wrapped his arms around Scarlet's waist, lifting her off the floor, and kissed her before Kai could finish.
All right, I'll get the champagne. These two are going to be thirsty when they finally come up for air.
Cinder collapsed onto the stairs and leaned against the rail after the wedding. She had never danced so much in her life. Cress had somehow compiled the perfect list of songs. There had been laughter and teasing and nostalgic memories of their many adventures, and the times when most of them had been crew members aboard the Rampion. Kai tiredly slumped down on the stairs beside her.
Well, how do you think we did?
I'd call it a brilliant success. All those journalists are going to be so disappointed when they find out they missed it.
We'll have plenty to report on still. They don't need to intrude on Wolf and Scarlet's privacy anymore to do it.
Are you going to hold a press conference in place of the wedding? Tell the world about your first foray into matrimonial officiating? Wax poetic about the historical importance of such a union?
Nope. But I might tell them what an honor it was for me to marry 2 of my closest friends who happen to love each other very much.
That won't satisfy them at all.
I know. That's half the appeal.
There's something I want to show you. Do you think anyone would notice if we slipped away for a bit?
Given that we make up a full quarter of the guest list, I would be a little insulted if they didn't notice.
It was a rhetorical question.
Lead the way.
She led him through the back door, out to the enormous hangar that housed Scarlet's pod ship. Finding the latch she knew was hidden there, she opened the hatch and led him inside.
You have my attention.
Lights on.
There in the room was the suspended animation tank where she had spent most of her childhood, the operating table where she had been transformed into a cyborg, the machines that had kept her alive.
This is where she kept you.
8 years.
Do you remember any of it?
No. Just a hazy memory of climbing that ladder. If Thorne and I had never come here, I would have always thought it was a dream.
Imagine how proud she would be.
Michelle Benoit?
She'd be so proud of Scarlet and of you. I can only begin to imagine the sacrifices she made to keep you safe. And all so one day you could face Lavanna and end her tyranny. You not only succeeded, but you signed a treaty between Earth and Luna and you dissolved the lunar monarchy. You've changed the course of history. in ways that I'm sure she never could have predicted. Sorry I never got to meet her.
Me too. I figured you know all about my biological family and the world I was born into. And you've, of course, had the great pleasure of meeting my adoptive family on numerous occasions. This was the last piece of the puzzle. The missing link to my past.
I'm surprised Thorne hasn't started leading guided tours down here. I bet you could charge a hefty admission fee.
Please don't plant that idea in his head.
Scarlet would never allow it. Anyway, come on. It's my turn to show you something.
Kai led her out of the chamber and into the fields until they had reached a small creek. Kai found a grassy spot where they could watch the subtle glint of moonlight off the foaming water.
All right, I give up. How did you know this was here?
Wolf mentioned it last night when he was showing us around the farm. But we're not here for the creek. Looking at the stars.
Believe it or not, I have seen these stars before.
Well, aren't you hard to impress?
Oh, sorry. What I meant was, this is breathtaking.
Thank you. I thought it would be nice to look up at the night sky with you beside me for once, rather than just wishing you were.
I do that too. Pretending you're with me, or wondering if you're looking at the same constellations that I am.
I have a confession.
Uh-oh, careful. There could be paparazzi hiding behind those trees. Any confessions might end up in tomorrow's news feeds.
I could live with that. When I was figuring out what to say for the wedding, I kept thinking about you and me.
I knew it! I mean, there seemed to be a lot of overlap, especially that part about defying race and distance and physiological tampering.
Actually, I was referring more to the part about finding someone who complements you and makes you stronger. And being with someone, not because you have some political agenda, but because you love them. Fine. What you said.
Thank you.
Cinder.
Kai pulled one leg onto the bank, turning his body so they were facing each other. He took her hands between his, and her heart began to drum unexpectedly, not because of his touch, and not even because of his low, serious tone, but because she knew he was nervous. Kai was never nervous.
I asked you once if you thought you'd ever be willing to wear a crown again. Not as the Queen of Luna, but as my Empress. And you said that you would consider it someday.
And is today that day?
I love you. I want to be with you for the rest of my life. I want to marry you, and yes, I want you to be my Empress.
That's a lot of wanting.
You have no idea.
I might have some idea.
Kai released one of her hands and reached into his pocket. His fist was closed when he pulled it out. Kai released a slow breath and opened his fingers to reveal a stunning ring with a large ruby rimmed in diamonds. Cinder's retina scanner recognized its history. It had been his mother's engagement ring once, and his grandmother's before that. Kai took her hand and slipped the ring onto her finger. Metal clinked against the metal, and the priceless gem looked as ridiculous against her cyborg platings as the simple gold band had looked on Wolf's enormous, deformed, slightly hairy hand.
Cinder, will you marry me?
It was absurd. The Emperor of the Eastern Commonwealth was proposing to her. It was uncanny. It was hysterical, but it was Kai, and somehow that also made it exactly right.
Yes. I will marry you.
She kissed him. He drew her into his arms. They had stood against all adversity to be together, and now they would forge their own path to love. She would be Kai's wife. She would be the Commonwealth's Empress, and she had every intention of being blissfully happy forever, ever after.